This is John for Global Woman Sports Radio. Tonight I have a very special interview. I have two of my guests. First, let me start off by introducing Vicki Otis, formerly known as Princess Victoria, a wrestling legend. She was a tag team women's champ in the WWF. She was a two-time NWA tag team champ. She was an NWA Women's USA champ. Vicki, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And John, not to exclude you, I also have John Cosper, author of 20 plus books, including soon to be published in 2021, a book on Vicki, which is why I have you both here. Welcome, John.
Hey, good to be back.
Vicki, I'll start with you. I know Taylor Hendricks did a wonderful piece on you, so I don't want to, go over the same material that she did. I encourage everyone to check out that piece, though. It's fantastic. So let me start by asking you, what made you want to write this book?
I've had a very varied life. I've been on the bottom of the bottom, and I've been on the top of the top. I've been through things that there are people out there going through now. And I really wanted to publish this book to show people that no matter how hard it gets, no matter how low you go, you can always climb out of that hole and reach for the top.
John, I'll ask you the same question. Why did you want to write Vicki's book?
Hey, she's Princess Victoria, right? I've had a real privilege of being able to work with a lot of wrestlers who've had some phenomenal stories. I love great storytellers, and Vicki actually had a pretty good start on the book before I even got my hands on it, and she's got an absolutely remarkable story to tell that's really going to surprise a lot of people. So, once I got to talk to her a little bit and got to see kind of where she's going and where her story's coming from, I had to jump on this one. It's a very exciting story to tell.
And Vicki, I know.
I really appreciate you jumping on this with me.
Sorry,
Absolutely.
didn't mean to interrupt. Vicki, I know I've talked to John before about the book, and he's mentioned that it's going to be a kind of a tough read. You've been through a lot. How hard was it for you to bring all those stories out, to relive those stories and to put them on paper?
At times, very hard. At times, my PTSD would kick in and I would have to walk away. Like I said, I've been all the way to the bottom. I've slept under bridges, with an army blanket. I've slept in doorways with a newspaper. But then again, I walked under the Arc de Triomphe and stood on top of the Eiffel Tower.
You've done it all. I mean, you from bottom to top. You're right. What did you learn? What did you learn about yourself or about your triumphs through writing the book?
I learned that, as I said, no matter how low it gets, no matter how bad it gets, it's a temporary situation. You can climb out again, and I've climbed out more than once. And like I said, I just want to show people who are out there who have lost hope. I want to give them something to hold on to so that they don't do a permanent solution to a temporary situation.
John, I'll ask you the same thing then. What did you learn about Vicki or even about yourself through writing, starting to write this book?
I say we're just kind of at the beginnings of it right now, but Vicki's a warrior. She dressed as a warrior in the ring, and she's an absolute warrior and a survivor. The things she's been through, and she's a really amazingly strong person, and she's got a great sense of humor. She's got a great laugh. I really enjoy talking to her and hearing her tell stories and stuff. And she does have a story that I think is going to inspire people that have been through some really low things and some really rough places. And it kind of reminded me at times of AJ Lee's book and the places she's been. Although, without giving anything away, because we really don't want to give anything away until the book comes out, AJ really had it lucky compared to where Vicki came from. But she survived it. She survived what happened with her at the end of her wrestling career, where she was basically, just kicked to the curb by Moolah and by the WWF. But and she's still here. She's still kicking. And I mean, she's an inspiration, I think.
Vicki, just like John said, the end might not have been great, but how does it feel to know that you truly were one of the pioneers, and the women that are wrestling now really have you to thank? You're one of the women that they should be thanking.
As short as my career was, I am still flabbergasted by the women who have watched my matches, used me as an example. The fact that the fans remember me from 35 years ago, and I was only in the business a short 4 years, it's amazing to me. It really is. And it kind of proves that without the fans, you're not anybody.
Well, what do you hope that, people will get from your book?
That they can make it. I think I've said it before. I don't know how to say it any different. That no matter how bad things get, they can get better. I mean, sometimes the only way to go is up. That's the only choice you have, because you've hit rock bottom. And I really want to reach out to especially young people who are going through things. I mean, God knows with this pandemic and the things that a lot of kids, especially high school kids graduating this year, that they've lost. I just want to let them know you might lose one thing, but there's another door over there. There's something waiting for you, because this door closed and it's like the rear view mirror, rip it off, because you need to look forward, not behind you.
And John, the same question to you. What do you hope that fans get out of the book? It maybe in addition to what Vicki hopes.
Well, I mean, yeah, certainly we're chronicling and continuing to chronicle the real history of pro wrestling, not just the history of, the business as told by a certain company that thinks that they own the business. But I take inspiration from her story as well. I've gone through a lot of situations. I'm here writing about pro wrestling because of a door that closed in my life back in the day. I was going to be a school teacher at one point. I was determined. I thought I had it all figured out. I went and I got my degree and everything. And, I had that little piece of paper said I was licensed to teach in the state of Indiana. And the one thing I didn't have was somebody on the inside who would hire you, because that's basically the only way you get hired in as a teacher. But, because that didn't work out, because things weren't working out at the school where I was teaching theater and everything, I walked away from it. And a year later, I was sitting around going, what am I going to do now? And, I'm at lunch with my wife and I pop the question and I say, I'm thinking about writing a book about the history of wrestling in Louisville, Kentucky. And she said, go for it. So, here I am, to her chagrin, I think 8 years later and, 20 something books later. But I mean, Vicki's right. When one door closes, there's always another opportunity. And, not everybody gets to have the 20, 30 plus year career. But, I mean, if you listen to Vicki talk about her career, she had a ton of fun. She made a lot of memories. She met a lot of great people, a lot of people still special to her, a lot of people that are gone. But, and like I said, she's another great storyteller. And I really do hope that the people are as inspired by it as I've been so far.
Well, Vicki, how does it feel? You were one of the pioneers during your career. While you were doing it, were you able to enjoy it at that moment, to go to look around at the arenas and see all the fans cheering for you, and to really appreciate what you had accomplished during your career?
Anytime I walked into that ring, and I don't care if there were 500 or 5,000 people there, I loved it. There's something about walking into that ring and hearing that applause or hearing the boos. It's addictive, and like you said, I had a very short time in my career, but God, the memories I've got. I got memories that'll last me the rest of my life.
Well, I have to say, when you were wrestling, that was right about the time that I started getting into wrestling. And I remember watching you. And for me, this is really cool now, some, 35, whatever years later, to be talking to you. It's quite a thrill. Before I end this, though, I have to ask you, I know you trained in the Pacific Northwest. How was it to work with a young Roddy Piper?
It was awesome. Piper was a great guy. You never knew what was going to come out of his mouth, especially if he got up in the crow's nest. I distinctly remember one night Piper had turned, and it was the great Buddy Rose Piper feud, and Piper was doing an interview, and he came out with, "I've got enough room in my belly button for Buddy Rose's brain, a cockroach egg, and the heart of a promoter." And we're all sitting in the dressing room, and our mouths just fell because we knew Piper was fired. Piper comes into the dressing room, he sits down, and here comes Don Owen. And you always knew his mood by the way he walked. And if he had that stiff walk and that head was up and he was staring straight ahead, somebody was going to lose some tail. And he come up in the dressing room, and he stood right before Piper. Piper was on the bench, and he goes, "Let me tell you something, Roddy Piper." He says, "That was the best damn interview I've ever seen."
Oh, that's classic. That's awesome. So, John, when could fans expect this book to appear on eatsleepwrestle.com?
It'll be up in the springtime, hopefully mid to late spring. We're going to try to have it ready so that Vicki can have some copies in hand at Cauliflower Alley come April. All kinds of, kind of depends. One thing I don't want to do is to rush it if we're still working on it and needs a little additional work. But right now I'm wrapping up the Candido book. We're shooting for an end of January release for that one, and I'm just kind of now starting and diving back into Vicki's book and kind of fleshing out what she's got and telling her story. So, but we're looking. Like I said, mid to late spring.
Something to look forward to. Before I end this, Vicki, is there anything else you'd like to say about your book? Anything you'd like to tell your fans? It's your forum now.
If it wasn't for my fans, this book probably would never be written. The things I've been through would never be put into a book if it wasn't for wrestling. And I thank God for each and every one of you out there. And I pray that you get something to help you in life from this book.
I'm sure we will. I really am looking forward to it. As soon as John had mentioned it, when he finally announced that it was coming out, I got really excited. I will be ordering it. John knows I've got a few of his books already, and I'm starting to fill my bookshelf with his. John, before I let you both go, would you like to plug your website, plug where people can find out more information about Vicki's upcoming book?
So the website is eatsleepwrestle.com. That's where we'll have the pre-orders, and that's where you'll be able to get autographed books when the time comes. We'll have it on Amazon as well, but if you want to check out everything else I've got, eatsleepwrestle.com.
Vicki, John, listen, I really appreciate it. John, you've been a great friend. I've leaned on you several times for interviews, and I always appreciate it. I always love talking to you. Vicki, like I said, you're one of the first people I remember, certainly one of the first women I remember wrestling when I started watching it, and to be sitting here this many years later to talk to you, it's really a thrill, and I really, really appreciate your time. I'll be buying your book, and I encourage everybody else to buy the book.
Thank you. I appreciate everything you just said.
Well, thank you both. You both have a good night. You both have a really nice holiday season. And when the book gets closer to publishing, or when it gets published, I hope to have you guys on again to do an update and to do a little more promotion.
Anytime.
Anytime.
Thank you both. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.